Today, Americans go to the polls. Or actually, they finish going to the polls after a record-breaking wave of early voting as the COVID-19 pandemic strengthens its grip on the country. Plus, stocks soar higher on this presidential election day. Now, does that mean that Biden or Trump is better for financial markets? We dig into the data to find out what history predicts. And finally, Chinese regulators halt the world's biggest public listing of all time. I'm MacKenzie Sigalos, and this is CNBC After Hours. Okay, you guys, it's here. No more surveys, no more horse race polling. Election day has arrived, and whatever information we get from this point on will come in the form of exit polls or official returns. Now, a lot of experts out there believe that we likely won't know the election result tonight. Some states might still be counting mail-in ballots in the coming days. And there's also the possibility of a contested election and a legal fight. Now, that being said, stocks posted a massive gain today. 10 out of 11 S&P sectors finished in the green, as the market bet on a clear winner emerging. But that's just today. We don't know who won or who might be winning yet. One big question that remains for investors is what happens when we do know the result? Which one of these candidates would be better for stocks? President Trump has been saying for a while now that if Joe Biden wins, stocks will crash.
If he's elected, the stock market will crash.
Now, Wall Street disagrees. Many of the country's big banks have already bet on a Biden win, plus a blue wave in Congress. But a review of past data appears to indicate that it doesn't really matter who wins the vote. I dug into the numbers, and history shows that stocks usually do well regardless of which party controls the White House or Congress.
But sometimes I think people overestimate the importance of politics for investing, and people tend to think if their person doesn't win, that the market's going to do very badly. And normally that is a bad call.
So let's start with the basics. Data tracing back to World War II shows that party control over either chamber has relatively little to do with long-term changes in the broad S&P 500 stock index. In fact, stocks typically perform better when there's gridlock on Capitol Hill. Data compiled by LPL Financial shows that since 1950, the average annual stock return is 17.2% under a split Congress. It drops to 13.4% when Republicans hold both chambers and to 10.7% when Democrats had full control. But what about when we look at party control of the White House plus the Senate and the House of Representatives? Well, when we do that, this trend of a split Congress being best for stocks doesn't always hold true. Wall Street research firm CFRA looked at how the market has performed under all possible power combinations. Stocks appear to do best when a Democrat is in the White House and the Congress is split. The second highest returns happen when a Democrat is president and Republicans control the Congress. So, bottom line, both Republicans and Democrats are good for stocks. And this is just a long way of saying that investors at home can stop stressing about which party is better for the stock market, because the numbers show that it doesn't really matter much. In fact, FundStrat's Tom Lee thinks the stock market is poised to take off regardless of who wins the White House. 90% of their portfolio strategy is identical under either a Trump or Biden victory. Okay, time for our sound check. Today, a dispatch from the battleground states that will decide this year's election. CNBC has correspondents in 6 of these states where the stakes are high, and a combined 101 electoral votes are up for grabs. With just hours to go until the polls close, but perhaps days until they're counted, here's a swing state status update.
Obama won Michigan by 450,000 votes in 2012. Trump won here by fewer than 11,000, but a win is a win, and both candidates certainly been eyeing Michigan. Trump was here in Grand Rapids last night. He was in the state twice yesterday. Biden with Obama was here actually over the weekend, so this is a key state.
As of November 1st, almost $200 million was spent in Florida on pro-Biden ads, more than $100 million on pro-Trump ads. That buys a lot of TV commercials, and they are inescapable.
This is in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, just north of the city of Philadelphia, a suburb where the COVID-19 cases are rising. And as COVID-19 continues to be a central issue in this election, Joe Biden has a 4-point lead in the state of Pennsylvania, according to the latest data from our CNBC States of Play poll.
So I'm in Cary. It's a suburb of Raleigh, fast-growing. It is in Wake County, which Hillary Clinton ran away with 4 years ago. Take a look at the polling station. There's just about nobody here, but that may be because the majority of the registered voters in this state, 7.3 million or so, have already voted, according to the State Board of Elections.
It has slowed down a little bit. There were long lines earlier today. You mentioned the economy and how important it is. Well, we did a States of Play survey, and we have been asking people consistently, who will do a better job of getting people back to work, of handling the economy? And when you look at the survey results, the most recent one, Joe Biden and the Democrats, 53% say the respondents. Donald Trump, the Republicans, 47%. And the people that we've talked with here, equally divided.
Voting's been steady here at the Glendale Community College, although most votes have already been cast in Arizona. This is part of the Phoenix Metroplex, the fastest growing metro in the country. The COVID shutdown here was shorter, and while jobs were lost, half of them have come back.
This election day is different than any other election day, aside from maybe the one in 1918, most glaringly because the country is still suffering from the coronavirus pandemic. More than 230,000 Americans have died from COVID-19, and the outbreak that stopped everyone in their tracks in the spring has returned. The U.S. reported more than 90,000 new cases yesterday, and former FDA Commissioner Scott Gottlieb told CNBC this morning that we should prepare ourselves for 1,000 deaths a day in the country for a sustained period of time. The public health emergency has significantly altered the way that America votes. This year broke all sorts of early voting records, and scores of people decided to vote by mail. So after all these changes to American life, CNBC Digital dove into what Election Day looks like in 2020.
Election Day in 2020 is unlike almost any other in American history. With a major pandemic sweeping the nation, millions are still projected to head to the ballot box to vote in person. As expected, early morning voters faced lines around the country as polling places opened. Long lines were seen from Connecticut to Missouri to California. In at least 2 states, voters faced robocalls deterring them from voting. One call in Michigan said that lines were too long and that voters had to wait until Wednesday. But generally, voters were able to quickly walk into their polling place and cast their vote. Fulton County, Georgia, the most populous county in the state, reported less than a 30-minute wait for all counties by 11 a.m. Compare that to Fulton County's performance in the 2020 primaries, when voters waited past midnight to cast their votes. Much of the reason for the shorter wait times comes down to the pandemic itself. Nearly 100 million people have voted early this election cycle. Hawaii, Texas, Washington, Nevada, Montana, and New Hampshire all passed their total number of ballots cast in the 2016 election just from early voters in 2020. Another reason why today's vote appears to be going smoothly: election boards across the country had months to prepare for a pandemic election. The NBA spent the summer working with election boards to turn giant professional basketball arenas into polling places, which helped with social distancing. The next challenge will be counting the wave of mail-in ballots that have come in. Some states, like Florida, are processing mail-in ballots while polls are still open in the hopes of a swift result. Other states, like Pennsylvania, began counting mail-in ballots at 7 a.m. this morning, and at least 7 counties in that state won't start processing these ballots until tomorrow, meaning a final result could be delayed for days. And just this afternoon, some states already warned of delays after issues arose earlier in the morning.
Okay, time for today's numbers round. First up is $34.5 billion. Chinese finance giant Ant Group was prepared to raise about $34.5 billion ahead of its public debut in a dual listing on Shanghai's and Hong Kong's stock exchanges. Now, it was supposed to be the biggest IPO in the world, but regulators in China suspended the listing, citing significant issues and the current regulatory environment for financial technology. Next, 900. Wayfair stock is up about 900% since the market lows in March, amid strong demand for home decor and furnishings as more people are working and learning from their houses. Shares got a bump today after the company reported earnings, including profits nearly 3 times higher what analysts expected. And finally, 2. In October, corporate insiders bought back their own stock at the slowest rate in 2 years, according to data compiled by Bloomberg. Now, corporate insiders is just finance speak for the top executives at big companies. Now, these guys were big buyers back when the market plunged in March, but now, well, they're largely on the sidelines. Fewer than 380 executives and officers bought their company shares last month, according to the Washington Service. That's it for After Hours, but CNBC election coverage is just getting started. Our newsroom will be up all night as the returns come in, so stay up to date in real time by checking out CNBC.com and downloading the CNBC app. And we'll be here every day through Friday with new editions of After Hours, digesting all the results in case election night turns into election week. So be sure to catch us tomorrow.